Hi, I'm Lippy.
And I'm Grumpy. Together we're Lippy and Grumpy do podcasting.
In this episode, octopus facts, maps, islands, holding up a bank, and when is midnight.
Now, Lippy.
Hello.
Now, I forgot a couple of things last week. Actually, I only forgot one thing from the rather long list of camping things, is that we met up with Mini Matt and Disney Joe while we were down in. And they've got a lovely, I think it's a Springer Spaniel, it's a Spaniel of some description, called Cooper, who was, I think, 8 weeks old. Does that sound about right? 16 weeks old. Not very old and full of beans.
Super excitable.
Very, very excited. So they're campervanners as well. They've got a lovely VW transporter. And Cooper's taken very well to it.
See, you need a dog.
Possibly. I don't know. It does seem like a lot of work. Because they seem to be into everything at that age. I think, to be honest, at my age, one that's of similar age would be very good, that just mooches.
A rescue dog who just wants to be stroked.
Stroked and go for walks.
Yeah.
Yes, and look at the sunset. That would be perfect. I was reading last week or the week before on one of the campervan Facebook groups, this couple that had got a campervan for the first time. And they had got away and got woken up in the night by somebody hooting. And they were getting quite irritated by this. Yeah, somebody just keep leaning on the hooter. So they got up to investigate a bit more to find their dog had clambered onto the driver's seat and fallen asleep with his head on the steering wheel. Yeah.
Oh, bless.
Yes.
Also, sorry, who calls a horn a hooter?
Well, I just did.
I literally didn't know what you meant to start with.
A hooter?
A hooter's more of like one of those things you have on a bike and you squeeze the end and it goes... Ha, ha.
Yeah, what do you think they had on cars early on?
Oh, yeah, but these days it's a horn.
Yeah, which is why it's called a hooter.
Oh, okay.
Hooter is a much
Still,
better
I
word.
don't think I've ever heard someone call it a hooter.
Well, you've not lived long enough, clearly.
Oh, no.
And I had a message from the Screaming Tomato down under. Nice to have you back on the podcast. Makes my commute bearable. Thank you. That's very nice to hear. Thank you, Screaming Tomato. And then in a sort of a bitter-sweet arrangement, or a sweet-bitter, he says, you poor darlings, very Australian darlings.
You poor darlings.
Yes, Dame Edna Everidge. 30.7 degrees. I do smile at your discomfort of what we rate as a moderately warm day.
They are equipped to deal with that kind of heat, though. We are not.
No, indeed not. Anyway, from a very long time ago, before hollybobs and the like,
Oh, yes.
we had a discussion about octopuses, and I can't remember what the detail... Oh, no, they become sentient beings, hadn't they?
Oh, that was it, yes.
And you mentioned a thing called Octopus Man on Netflix. It's not. It's called My Octopus Teacher.
That makes more sense, because the man doesn't turn into an octopus.
No, so if you spent the last 3 weeks searching for Octopus Man, I do apologise.
It probably would have come up. And you probably would have looked at it and gone, silly Lippy.
That was very much in line with what happened to me.
So you've watched it now?
No, I haven't watched it. I just found
okay.
it. I haven't done anything remotely sensible like that. So that led me on to a couple of other thoughts about what is the plural of octopus.
I know this.
Go on then.
Octopi.
Is it? Or is it octopuses?
No, I just guessed.
Or is it octopodes?
Octopodes? I like that. That's fun to say. Octopodes. That sounds like a superhero.
It does a bit, doesn't it? So the most common accepted is octopuses.
Yeah.
But I guess any of them is probably okay.
Octopi feels like it's in line with a lot of other multiples of an animal.
It feels like Latin, though. It feels a bit smarter than octopuses. And who came up with that octopi? It's like dice and die. That's crazy. Crazy talk. Anyway, still on the octopus theme. I then found an article about octopus numbers booming in Cornwall, which is really good.
That's cool.
Really cool. And there's some stunning photography on the internet about the octopuses in Cornwall. And it does make me think, actually, going and doing a bit of scuba diving around there would actually...
I think you can see quite a lot from the coast of Cornwall, animal-wise. You can get quite a good...
I think you probably can. When we were in Swanage, there was some... I think I probably covered this last week, but some really good pictures on the pier of some of the fish under the pier that scuba divers have seen. So if you've got clear waters, then you're going to see some great things.
Yeah.
Really good things. So, yes, it's food for thought, I think. Anyway, you were telling me you had a bit of a incident today.
Well, it wasn't really an incident. I just almost cried.
Oh.
I am the ripe old age of 26. So I would say I'm still pretty young.
I would compare with me, yes.
And recently, about 2 months ago, I think I might have been at your house. We might have been having a barbecue. I found a white hair. Do you remember this?
Oh, yes, I do. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, I was very distraught. And I got told by multiple people that it's fine because it's like in the middle of my scalp, not on the edges. And apparently when it's in the edges, that's when your hairs are white. And it's kind of game over.
Okay.
I don't know if people were telling me that to make me feel better. Anyway, I'm in the lift today at work, going down. Thought I'd just quickly check my hair. I found another one.
Well, unfortunately, your mother, her family line is very early on the greying.
Oh, it was gutting. And then, so I was telling my work colleague, who I get on quite well with, how I found it, but it was quite a short one. So I was like, I think it could be the same hair follicle as the other one I'd found a couple of months ago. And it was just growing through. Again, quite illogical. And as I'm talking to her, I was looking through my hairs and I found another one. That's 2 in one day.
Well, that must have been there for some time.
One of them was really long and the other one was quite short.
What's the problem with going grey?
I just don't want to go grey before the wedding.
Well, you could always dye it.
Yeah, but what if it goes wrong? I need time. I either need to start dyeing it now so that my hair's had time to settle and I've got time to get, I've gotten used to my hair before the wedding, or I need to stop going grey. But
the latter
it's a
you
bit
have
of a
no
loop.
control over.
But it's a bit of a loop though, because your grey hairs grow quicker if you're stressed. So if I'm stressing about my grey hairs, I'm going to get more grey hairs.
Is that true?
Well, it's an old wives' tale, and wives' tales come from somewhere.
Yeah, old wives.
Yeah, so if you have bad heartburn in pregnancy, your baby's likely to have hair. Everyone I know that had bad heartburn has had hairy babies. That's an old wives' tale that's true.
It comes down to, once again, simple metrics, doesn't it? How many babies are born without hair?
Most of them.
Really?
I don't know. I just threw a guess. I threw a guess out there.
Exactly. You don't know.
Most mums have heartburn. Pregnant ladies.
Yeah, and if most babies have hair, then that's just going to be true, isn't it, most of the time?
Yeah. So I'm stressing. I'm stressing about my grey hairs. If anyone would like to do my hair for free for me so that I can afford it, that would be lovely.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Cool. Let's get that booked in.
Oh, there's an article from 2020 on the BBC. The scientists may have discovered why stress turns hair white, and unfortunately the damage is permanent.
Oh no. See, so stressing about getting white hairs is just going to make the issue worse.
Yeah, it is a perpetual motion engine.
But how could I not stress about it? I've got 8 months. I've got 8 months and 26 days to stay brown. To keep my brown hair.
Ah, now this is very interesting. Men and women can go grey anytime from their mid-30s, so you're a bit early.
I'm very early.
With the timing of parental hair colour change giving most of the clues on when. So, unfortunately, if you've got your mother's genes...
It's soon.
Yeah. Well, it will happen earlier.
I've never prayed to have your genes so much in my life.
Yeah. What can I say? What can I say? Well, listeners, if you've got any hair colouring tips that don't involve a Sharpie...
I was just really stressed out for a second then. I need to calm. I need to stop thinking about it, stop looking for them.
You need to calm. All right, let's talk about something different. So...
Yeah, go.
I found a map of...
Did you?
I did find a map, and apparently sarcasm causes grey hairs as well. So stop that. So it's as we all know, the land on the Earth moves around due to tectonic plates and some clever stuff like that. So this map suggests how the Earth was many, many, many years ago. And it's
Like it?
yes, 300 million years ago. And it's interesting because all the countries are mixed up. So if you took a pint glass and you tried to get all of the countries in there, I think this is probably the shape you'd end up with. So starting at the very top is China, and then we go down through Russia. So that whole area sort of spun up and down, and that bumps into Greenland, and then the UK and Europe. So UK is attached to France, so we've still got a bit of a stack. We're right next to Greenland, which is butted up against Canada. United States is out to the left. On the right-hand side, you've got Africa, with pretty much the shape it is now, just a bit squished. And then you've got Southern America, which is pushed into Africa. And then under that, you've got India, Antarctica, and right at the bottom, you've got Australia and New Zealand. It's a fascinating picture, really fascinating picture.
It is. I've just looked at it.
Yeah, so I shall put a link to that in the socials because that's really quite interesting. And I think there's a bit of a...
Do you know one thing that it really does show is how small America is in comparison to some other countries?
Yes, well, what's interesting is because you see it on a flat map, the actual size of it isn't quite right. There is somewhere I've seen also where they've corrected the size of it for the sort of unfurling, if you see what I mean, which is an interesting thing. But it explains one of the questions I often had is how we ended up with humans all over the planet, even though they're distanced by sea.
Because originally we were all quite squished.
Connected, so there must have just been an awful lot of walking involved.
Yes. Also, I feel like Britain did a bit of naughtiness, didn't they? Did a bit of travelling, plopped some people in some... Oh, there were already people there, though, you're right.
Well, yeah, this is a long while ago. I'm not very good with ages and when people appeared and stuff like that. But clearly, if they're all joined together, then that's how we got around...
more freely roaming.
Indeed. So going from something massive to something small... The smallest and extremely densely populated island in the world is one called Migingo Island, East Africa, and it's about half the size of a football pitch, and it has 500 residents on it. It's astonishing, and there's a picture here, and there's lots of...
That's a lot of people.
500 people. That's a lot.
Well, my initial reaction is why?
That's a very good question, and I can't answer it. I can imagine there's a bit of, well, we've always lived here, and also maybe the fishing's very good.
Yeah. And I guess if you're born there, that adds to the numbers, and also...
Yes, if people aren't moving off.
You don't tend to leave where you're born, yeah.
Yes, possibly. But, yeah. Interesting. Very interesting. So we had a very pleasant Friday last week at your place.
We did. Well, we did after about 20 minutes.
Yes, there was a little bit of rain, wasn't there? And then there wasn't as many planes as I'd expected, but actually I think there was enough.
Yes, yeah.
The only thing I wish I'd seen was that,
was a decent amount.
Very angry helicopter.
The Chinook.
No, we saw the Chinook. There was another one, some sort of attack helicopter. It looked like a...
Did it fly and we just didn't see
Well,
it?
It could have just flown up and down the runway and that was it.
That is the issue with doing a private viewing rather than
it is, but there was some
actual airshow
great
viewing.
planes, and that Airbus we saw very low, very close to the trees. That was really good. Anyway, while we were there, obviously a little bit of alcohol was consumed, and unfortunately there was an eBay bid.
Oh, was there now? That was kept very quiet.
Yes, and fortunately rather, I've been outbid. So I don't have to explain why a massive ham radio receiver was turned up at home. So I was quite relieved at that.
How much was the bid?
It wasn't very much. It was yeah. Well, it started at £34, so it was fine.
So it wasn't like a sneaky couple hundred put down.
No.
On an unnecessary item.
So I found this story about a gentleman called John Newell who did exactly the same thing at a barbecue, except he bought a 1988 Formula One car instead.
Stop.
No, so he put the bid in, completely forgot about it, and then some hours later, ping on his phone, and he'd won a Formula One car.
How much?
He doesn't say.
How much?
He doesn't say.
I would probably keep that quiet.
Well, he didn't.
I can't imagine that was cheap.
No, I can't imagine it was cheap at all. He says, I went to my limit, but plus VAT. Who knows how much it was? And I think the fact that he's kept it quiet suggests that it's probably quite a lot. But unfortunately, we're all well and good. But what can you do with this? Because you can't drive it on the road, obviously, and it means you've got to hire a tractor to drive it. But I guess if you've got the money to buy a Formula One car, then you've probably got the money to run it up and down the track every now and then.
Yes.
He does say there was a slightly awkward moment with his wife when he realised he'd won it, and obviously there was a look on his face, and his wife went, "What have you done?" So clearly this man has form, but I hope he enjoys it, because it's a stunning looking car.
Yes. Well, now that he's got it, he needs to use it.
Well, when he can, yes. It would be very, very noisy as well,
Yeah.
which would be awesome.
Yeah, like a good noise rather than...
Definitely good noise. So, yes, enjoy it, Mr. Newell. Definitely enjoy it. Now, I think a couple of weeks ago we covered something about bank transfers, and I can't remember the exact... I think it was something to do with duck bite. Would you
There
stop
was a man
looking
that
for
had
grey
PayPal.
hairs? So distracting.
I thought I saw one in my webcam picture, which is where I've got blonder ones at the front. I'll stop. A man, PayPal had given a man
Oh, that's right. Yes,
a
silly
amount of zeros. And then Duck Boy
Yes.
also had been given a silly amount of zero. Not a
Yes.
silly amount. He'd been gifted
That's
some
right.
money.
So I had a message from the Screaming Tomato. This was a few weeks ago after our piece on it. And he said, about 12 years ago, towards the middle of December, I was pleasantly surprised to find almost $2,000 in my account. I wasn't expecting anything, so I called the bank, and it had come from Hemel Hempstead, and they gave him the name of the depositor. So I did a bit of Googling and found an email address. My thinking was it's probably a Christmas gift, and they've got the account number wrong, which makes sense. Anyway, the guy emailed me back kind of suspicious and also pleased. I said, look, I can't do anything. Please just ask the bank to reverse the transaction and it'll work out. And it was a Christmas gift. It wasn't such a big deal. I probably saved them a few days of concern at most. At the end of it, the guy emailed to thank me and said how he could thank me. So the Screaming Tomato is South African. That's the important thing to remember for this next bit. So I said, next time the Springboks are at Twickenham, put on a green and gold jumper and support them. He refused. Not a surprise. Nice try. Very nice try. And in Private Eye a few weeks ago, there was a very bizarre story of a bank robber in Delaware, in America. And he went into the bank and handed the teller a note saying he was robbing the bank. He was very apologetic, kept saying sorry. Anyway, got hold of the cash, legged it out of the bank, walked to the ATM directly outside, paid the money into his account, and then disappeared off through the shopping centre behind him. And the police finally caught up with him. I think he'd been taking something that he shouldn't have been. So he was caught rather quickly. So if you are going to rob a bank, don't put the cash back into your account using the ATM outside.
No, because they'll know exactly who you are straight away. Even if he had escaped,
yes,
they would have known exactly who he was because all the money appeared in his account.
Also, he told the police that he'd travelled to Delaware by riding on the exterior of a cargo train. He also said that his mind is currently being controlled by a third party via an implant located somewhere in his body.
He needs help.
Yeah, seriously, it's not funny. He does need help. It's a very odd thing to do.
Yes, very.
Now, we had a bit of a discussion last week about when is midnight. So to give you a bit of context to the story, the Horse Whisperer entered a competition to win some support for horse riding. And the deadline said by midnight Wednesday. When would you say that was?
What was the date of Wednesday?
So if I said to you midnight Wednesday, is that Tuesday into Wednesday or Wednesday into Thursday?
It's Wednesday into Thursday.
No, it's not. though, because midnight is 0.
No, you're right, yeah.
So we had a massive discussion about this.
Because it's 11:59.
Tuesday, and then 0000
is Tuesday.
or 12:00
is Wednesday.
So a massive
Yeah,
discussion
right.
ensued, and Wife of Grumpy was not convinced by my suggestion that 00 hours and 12 midnight were the same. She thought 12 midnight was in there. And then it finally occurred to me. So when it's New Year's Day and the clock chimes at midnight, what day is it? Oh, yeah. You celebrate New Year's Day at the stroke of midnight.
Yes, yeah.
It's not New Year's Eve.
Yes. However, I do fully agree with you. However, I do think that midnight Wednesday, if they broke down their T's and C's, I do think they would mean Wednesday to Thursday.
Because midnight, Wednesday to Thursday, is on Thursday. You can only have one midnight per day. You can't have two.
No, I know, but I feel like when a lot of competitions say midnight, Wednesday midnight, they mean the end of the day.
No, they can't.
So actually what they mean is 11:59.
Midnight is 12 midnight and 12 noon. A lot of the problem with this is the 12-hour clock, which needs to be removed. It's not fit for purpose whatsoever.
Yeah.
And if you go to 24-hour clock, then it's 0000 is midnight and 12:00 is midday.
Yeah.
And there's no discussion about that. Anyway, after a bit of panic, the horse whisperer, who had left recording this video to pretty much the last possible moment, and then realised that she'd just lost the day because she thought it was the end of Wednesday, not the end of Tuesday.
Oh, so she hadn't submitted it in time.
But I think she did it on the Monday or on the Tuesday. So she rushed into doing this, and it was a masterpiece. And I think actually, if she'd done it earlier and then spent days and days editing it, it wouldn't have been as good as it was. I don't think she got in, which is a shame. But it was a very good video, really very natural. No ums and ahs, no me spending hours editing the various mistakes out like I had to do with this podcast. So maybe she ought to do this.
Maybe, yeah.
Now, Duckboy sent me a very interesting article a week or so back about well, it's entitled UK set to have the world's biggest automated drone superhighway, which sounds like a cracking idea. So it's a 164-mile skyway project connecting the towns including Cambridge and Rugby. So I don't know how this works, because presumably it's just an area. They haven't got to do anything, just stop anything else wandering into it and banging into the drones going up and down. Again, it doesn't talk really about what it's going to be used for, but maybe deliveries. And they're talking about regular deliveries of mail and medicine to the Isles of Scilly and distribute medicines across Scotland, which sounds like a really good idea. Good idea.
Especially rural areas, it would be really helpful for getting stuff to.
And the NHS has been trialling carrying chemotherapy drugs from Portsmouth to the Isle of Wight using drones. So it's all going on. And we're not talking about a little helicopter with a camera on it. We're talking about something that's a reasonable size with wings, not just aeroblades. So it's presumably got a reasonable payload. And all sorts of projects around the world, some in Africa, which is ideal because you've got vast expanses there and an even worse road network than we have in the UK. So we look forward to seeing how that progresses, because I think there is a
that would be really cool.
It does need some regulation and some sensible people thinking about it, so that we don't end up with chaos. So going back to dates, you've got a story to tell. Well,
it's not really a story. I listened to this thing on the radio called The Fat Controller on Radio 1. So it's things you should have known, so it's things that people have been thinking for a very long time that they probably should have known when they were younger, or someone should have explained it a bit better to them. So it was on this morning, and one of them, and most of the time I'm listening thinking, oh, that's silly, they should have known that. But every now and then there's one and I'm like, sorry, what? So there's been two recently. The first one's to do with dates. And this really did get me. And I thought, how on earth have I reached the age of 26 and did not know this? And you know, when you're writing a date in long format, so it's like the 1st of August, the 2nd of August, and you know the 2 letters after the number. Did you know that that relates to the last 2 letters of the number in word format?
How does that work then?
So first ends in ST when you write first. Yeah. So it's 1 ST. Second ends in ND. Yeah. Third, RD.
Yep.
5th, 6th, 7th all end in TH. So that's why it's TH. I never knew that.
What you're doing by writing 1 ST is you're abbreviating first.
I didn't know that's what I was doing. That's what I mean. I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked. And I'm sat there thinking, I really should have known that. I don't know. I just don't think that was ever explained. I think it was explained and this is how you write the date, but not in this is a short format for writing first.
When you see 1 ST, how do you read that?
Yeah.
Your head.
The first. Yeah. But I hadn't linked it. My mind was blown. I was sat in that car and I was like, oh my God. And the first thing I did was tell my colleague and she didn't know either. And she's 28. So I think it's an age thing where they've stopped explaining what it means and just let people write it. Because she didn't know and she's only 2 years older than me. But yeah, are you a bit shocked that I didn't know that?
I don't think I could have told you that fact because it's there and it's done. It's natural.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, we were clearing out my mum's loft at the weekend and a very good friend of mine came along and helped. And we were having a chat on the way over and he was saying, isn't it funny? He said, you get to an age where your kids are starting to get brighter than you. They know more stuff. And, and lo and behold, yesterday, I was amazed to find out that you can sort an Excel spreadsheet on the colour of a cell. So very proudly, I said to you, because I know you're a bit of a spreadsheet fan, you could do this. And you just came back, I know.
I do like spreadsheets.
So I think it has proved that is correct. We have reached an age.
I think something might have also happened on that exact day.
Yes, there was. And I can't remember what it was.
That was a bit shocking. Your friend... we were talking about the plant that I've got in my garden and he said, oh, isn't that the plant that changes colour depending on what soil it's in? And I went, no, that's a hydrangea. Just out of my mouth.
You only know 2 plants and those are the 2 plants. So
I don't even know the name of that one.
Clogs. What does Wi-Fi stand for?
Wireless internet. No, hang on. Wireless.
Shall I put you out your misery?
No, hang on. One more guess. I'm trying to find where it says what it is.
Oh,
I can't.
Well, there'll be a reason for that. Because it doesn't stand for anything. No, I mean, I thought it might be wireless fidelity. Sounds familiar, but no, it doesn't actually stand for anything. It's a marketing name.
Stand for anything.
And they just came up with it because it sounded good.
That doesn't count. That was a trick question.
But if you knew more than me, then you would know that was the case.
Yeah, I'm not saying I know more than you. I'm just getting to a point where I know more.
Yes, well,
than
I
you
forget
think I know.
more than anything.
Yeah, that's it. It's not that I know more; it's that you've forgotten it.
Anyway, a couple of weeks ago, quite a few weeks ago, we talked about was it the Mars orbiter having a Windows update over the wire? Well, a couple of spacey things have happened over the last few weeks. One of them is the James Webb Telescope, which has come online. Yeah, which has made Hubble
the pictures have come out.
Completely and utterly redundant, and they're astonishing.
Slightly terrifying, those pictures.
What's slightly more amazing, I think, is Voyager 1, which was sent up in 1977, and it's still going. So it's got out of our solar system, so it's gone past Pluto, if that's still a planet.
Just on a little,
and they've managed to alter its trajectory slightly. So this thing is 13 billion miles away. They've sent a signal to it to fire a rocket to move it, and it's responded. It did it, yeah.
It did it?
Yeah, it's incredible. I think it's lasted longer than they thought it would. But it's an incredible project. And it's, still sending stuff back, which is really quite amazing. Yes.
Quite impressive, yeah. Definitely, yeah. It creeps me out. I don't like thinking about it, to be honest.
Well, it's still there.
There is no way that we're the only planet with human life on it. Or life on it, sorry. Not human necessarily.
If you accept that the universe is expanding and that everything is a freak accident, that we're here, then there must be other freak accidents. So I just hope those planets don't have Love Island. Anyway, before we get into a discussion about that, do you have a top tip for us?
I do. It's more of a hack than a tip. And it may only work if you're female. We're not sure. Maybe you need to give it a go tonight and see. I did learn this from quite a young age, to be honest, because I do have very loving parents that like to treat me from time to time. So I have learned a little hack where if you say you really want something and you send it to someone, be like, oh, look how cool this is, I'm going to get it. And then send them a picture or a link. Specifically a link is the key point here. And then go, oh, actually, no, I'm going to wait for payday. I can't really afford it right now. That person tends to buy it for you.
What has your mother done now?
And well, no, actually, it's I managed to get dinner out of Duck Boy.
Oh.
He went and got a cheeky kookaroo at work when he was meant to have taken his dinner, but he forgot. I'm doing air marks for those who can't see me, which is everyone. So I said, oh, I'm going to do the same then. I'm going to get a kookaroo for dinner.
Can I just stop you?
Then looked in my bank account.
A kookaroo?
A kookaroo. It's Japanese fast food.
Oh.
So katsu curry from there is unreal and the portions are huge. And they also do some other, like a sweet and sour, and they do spring rolls and sushi and stuff. It's really, really good. Very nice fast food option if you're not into fast food but you want something quick. So yeah, it's really good. And we have it quite a lot. So anyway, I looked at my bank account. It's payday on Friday. So I'm like, I'm coming to the end of my funds, especially saving for a wedding and a honeymoon. So I've got about £10 left in my account. So I text back being like, oh, I can't get one. I can't afford it. I've got to wait till payday. Next thing I know, £15 been sent across to my account so I can buy dinner.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
And then a message saying I feel like a sugar daddy.
Oh. I'm not sure that's appropriate.
Yes. Well, no, and then I got one saying, you do like me for me and not just my money. And I just put back, sure.
There's an answer to that, but I'm not going into it. Going into it whatsoever. Right, I've reinstated the where does that saying come from?
Oh, I like
it. And I used the saying, the podcast before last, so before we went on holiday, happy as Larry.
Yes.
So where does happy as Larry come from?
Is Larry actually happy?
Well, this means to be extremely happy, but the question, who was Larry? It's believed to be an Australian expression from the late 19th century, and Larry may well have been the boxer Larry Foley, 1847 to 1917, who never lost a fight. Ooh. The word may also relate to larrikin, an Australian term for a young hoodlum given to acts of rowdiness. Larrikins were particularly active on the streets in the 1880s and wore distinctive colourful clothing. So, could be boxer Larry Foley or a hoodlum called larrikins.
I don't know which I'd prefer, to be honest.
I quite like the term larrikin. I'm going to try and use that more in conversation.
Yeah. That is a cool name. Well, phrase.
Yes, see if anybody picks up on it. That's it for this podcast. Thank you so much for listening.
You can help spread Lippy and Grumpy's view on life by leaving a review on your favourite podcast platform.
If you're not sure how to leave a review, or if you download from Spotify, there's some help at lippyandgrumpy.uk/review.
And if you would like to get in touch, email podcast@lippyandgrumpy.uk.
So it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from him.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.